we're going to move into 2014, and this is a personal low light for you. It's the 2014 Commonwealth Games, and you said to me before we caught up is that as soon as you jumped into the water, you knew that it was going to be a bad day. So, and then also you said a term that I've never really heard before, you mentioned a term that I've never heard before, detrained. So take me through the 2014 Commonwealth Games and explain detrained and also that moment jumping into the water.
Yeah, it was a funny day. I think it's like one of those days when you step out the door to go for a run and you just feel terrible. But unfortunately this happened on one of the biggest days of my career, and it was at the Commonwealth Games. And I actually had a pretty good lead into it. Like, I had trained well. I'd had quite a massive surgery the year before that to fix that Haglund's syndrome I mentioned earlier. I had the bone shaved down, and things had been tracking pretty well. And then the day of the Commonwealth Games, which were in Glasgow, we dived into the water, and I just felt horrendous. And the swim leg's usually I usually make the front group. I was way off the back of like the whole field, and I was mortified, and I couldn't do anything to change it. Like, I thought, I'll come right, but I never did. And the bike, I was with an Aussie girl and a Canadian girl, and they were both strong cyclists, so I knew I was in good company there, and we could potentially bridge up to the front group, but it didn't happen. And then I got onto the run, and it was just awful. Like, I wanted the ground to just open up, and I just wanted to fall into it. I felt quite embarrassed that was like the best performance I had at such a big games. But it was we had, obviously you always review your events afterwards and your race and what went right, what went wrong, and it sort of came up a few months later that our training and trying to peak for that day, hadn't got it right, and we'd essentially detrained, which is a really hard thing to get your head around, because it's not like we were sitting in Europe not training. Like, you're still training really hard, but there comes a point where I think the effort that you put it in, you get the negative effect. And it's that's essentially what had happened to me. I had become unfit, even though I was fit. It's quite bizarre, but it wasn't. We all had, the whole team no one had a good result that day. So it's a pretty bitter pill to swallow, and unfortunately these things happen.
Because you trust that the coaches or whoever puts the programs together, that they're putting science behind it, research. That's how we're going to peak for the performance. To almost get to the point where you're training so much that you're actually doing yourself more harm than good. That was a term that I'd never heard before. But it seems crazy that you're doing fitness but you're getting unfit. It doesn't really make sense. And this, I think, led for another year. You had quite fatiguing year following that.